I'm Jason Hoffman. My goal is to help you have the confidence to just press go live. I'm Jason Hoffman. My goal is to help you have the confidence to just press go live. If you stream live events, just about any venue you stream from is going to have to deal with whatever light is available to you, whether it's worship services, sporting events, weddings, conferences. They all will have some kind of issue with the lighting. Sometimes it's light behind your subject. Sometimes it's overhead sunlight you just can't do anything about. Sometimes it's the clothes that the subjects are wearing and how that contrasts with the environment that they've placed themselves in. Well, today I'd like for us to compare the Mevo Start's ability to image process with the world's most popular camera, the iPhone. Now, world's most popular camera is probably needing a caveat. There's probably needs to be an asterisk beside that statement because although in 2017, 6 years ago, 85% of all photos were taken with a smartphone, the smartphone camera may not be the most popular, the most well-liked camera, but it is by far the most used camera in all of the world. Now, cameras are equipped to process images based on three things. One, their sensor, that's their hardware, and that's what's built in to the lens, to the camera part of your smartphone or of your camera. Two, the firmware. So that's the processing part that the camera or smartphone is going to use to get the image that you're seeing to be duplicated into a digital form. And then three, there's oftentimes software. So you have hardware, firmware, and software. For both the Mevo Start and the iPhone, there exist all three of those. There is the piece of hardware that you hold in your hand or stick on a tripod. There is the firmware, which tells the hardware how to process the light that's coming into the sensor. And then there's the software that actually lets you make adjustments to what you see. Here's a still image of the two of them compared in a very typical worship service type setting. All the lights in the building are on, and there's a great deal of contrast on this platform. A black, deep black piano. I'm wearing a black shirt today. My skin tone's the white wall that is just over my shoulder, and then the light that actually comes from this indirect light tray is also in frame. And for our processors, iPhone and Mevo Start, to handle all of those from deep blacks to white bright lights, well, that's something that they're built to have to do. Comparing which one does which parts of it better is going to be the fun part of this video. This is my normal studio shot. Anytime I'm recording a video, it happens right here with these same lights on. Can you tell the difference? Which one is the Mevo Start and which one is the iPhone? Before we go any farther in this video, drop down to the comments and leave me your best guess. Is it A or is it B? Which one, A or B, is the Mevo Start and which one is the iPhone? Other than looking at the sensor itself, we're not going to get deep into the specifications of how each one is built or what each one does, but we are going to look at some real-world examples of what it looks like to have these two image processors trained at the same subject in the same light at the same time so that we can make up our minds for ourselves. And the great thing about this comparison is, with the addition of the Mevo Go service in the Mevo ecosystem, we can use both the iPhone and the Mevo Start side by side in the same setup. They can each be a camera for our live stream. And we want to make sure that when we switch from one camera to the other, it's not a glaring difference, but it's seamless in how they both process the image that we happen to be streaming. So here's a quick clip of the two cameras compared to one another, both mounted in the same spot on the same place. The iPhone is just a little bit lower, the Mevo is just a little bit higher. But to be able to see how it handles skin tones, how it handles black clothing, a white wall with backlighting in that tray, that light tray, all of this gives us a good comparison, the Mevo Start versus the iPhone camera in the iPhone 13 Pro Max. to take the same setup into a full sun environment. And if you stream Saturday games, you're going to run across this same sun in the peak of the sky, kind of shadows down across the face. If you're streaming a baseball game or an outdoor event, you're probably not looking at people up close like this, but you're going to catch the same kind of issues with sunlight. And once again, comparing the two and how they handle skin tones, blacks being black and whether they're deep and rich or whether they begin to be washed out because of the extra light, and then looking into the shadows that are behind me and see how everything looks in comparison to what's in the foreground and background. And then moving into a mixed environment with dappled shades, sunlight filtering through a tree, which would probably be a fairly common issue to fight in an outdoor wedding type scenario, outdoor worship type scenario even. And to see, I'll move around just a little bit so you can kind of see how as the sunlight hits my face or as it hits my shirt, you can see how the black is handled by each of the cameras. You can see over the, You can see over the shoulder there how the sky is blue and the trees are green, and whether any parts of that are washed out based on the image processing for the two different cameras. And finally, looking at an outdoor setting when there's no direct sunlight, such as when there's an overcast sky. You don't have the direct sun, but you do have very good lighting, and how each of the cameras is going to handle the darks and the lights mixed together, how skin tones will look, just as a comparison. The final place we'll look at the comparison is in a low light setting, and this is where the firmware update, the software update for the Mevo Start really begins to shine. The difference that you see here, you see it be much dimmer on the iPhone shot than it is on the Mevo shot. Now there are no lights on in this room. I have a lamp behind me. I have another lamp off screen here. None of them are on. The only light that's on in the house right now is the kitchen light that is several feet behind where the cameras are. Matter of fact, when I turned the recording on for the iPhone, the flash came on. It was dark enough for the flash. I had to turn the flash back off so I didn't have a big shadow behind me. And you can see that the handling of low light situations is something that Mevo has improved greatly on in their most recent image adjustment upgrade for their software. One of the great things about the software for both of these devices is the flexibility they offer in manipulating how the image finally gets into the screen you're checking it on. So opening up the camera on the iPhone, if we hit this arrow key on the far left hand side, we can see that we have some options that pop up, starting with different kind of presets where we can change the look of what we're videoing or photoing. We also have the ability to change our exposure up or down. Now when we look at the same in the Mevo app, whether it's in the single cam or the multicam app, we're going to see also some image adjustment settings. In my Mevo software, I'm going to be able to go into the image adjustments settings, and I have a plethora of options here from your video presets. My favorite is to stick with Vivid. It is the one that gives me the best quality across all different kinds of lighting settings. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have to adjust it sometimes. Sometimes I'll need to take down a little bit of the saturation that is at 1.3 by default in the Vivid setting. I need to drop that back down to 1 or even 0.9. Contrast sometimes will go up or down depending on what kind of lighting situation I have. I do have the ability to turn HDR on or off. I've done all of this testing, by the way, with HDR turned off. High dynamic range is what HDR stands for. We have exposure settings and white balance. One of the great differences between the iPhone and the Mevo Start in its camera is going to be that the iPhone is built on the idea, the entire ecosystem is built on the idea that it just works. And so you have fewer options in the native app for the iPhone. Now, if you were to get something like Filmic Pro or Movie Pro or one of the others, you can open up many settings of the iPhone camera. That's your choice. But just running the basic app that it comes with, you have only a few options in the iPhone software. In the Mevo software, there are many options in the presets section, but also then one by one you can choose how it handles different scenarios in this whole line of options beneath your video presets. So what do you think? Does the Mevo Start give you the kind of quality you're looking for in a live streaming camera? Does the image processing ability of this little camera fit the bill for the streams that you want to produce?